Hello, hello. There's the little beepy recording in progress. Okay. So yes, as Martina said, put in the chat where you are joining me from. I like to see where everyone is joining from. I see Jane is here from Connecticut and Jennifer from Atlanta. And yes, thank you very much. So today we're doing, oh, and I want to say I am in Kentucky, Louisville, Kentucky. It's freezing cold here, as I'm sure it's been in a lot of places. So hopefully it'll warm up soon for me and for you guys. But in the meantime, thanks for spending your afternoon, your Saturday afternoon with me. Amy from Denver. Hi, Amy. And hi, Zoe from Southern California. Okay, so we are doing a fun and simple class today. I'm going to show this. I don't know which one I'm spotlighted on, but this is what we're doing. This is just my little sample that I made. And if you want to go ahead and switch to the overhead camera, I can show everything on there too, if we aren't already. It's hard to tell from my end.
You are.
Okay, cool. So this is just a little sort of swatch that I made. And I did just a little very simple flower embroidery on this little swatch. So that's what we're going to go over, how to do this little simple embroidery. I found out that February is National Embroidery Month. So I thought I'd put together something quick and easy to show you guys and to have a fun class. Yes, this one is the Lazy Daisy. And I'm not an expert embroiderer. I'm mostly a knitter and crocheter. But like I said, I thought this would be fun for National Embroidery Month because this is something that you can do on your knits and your crochet pieces. And we're just going to do it with regular yarn that we would knit or crochet with and not with like, floss on the loop and all those things like that. So this is kind of geared toward those knitters out there. I want to show you what yarn I'm using. This is my Luxe Merino. This is my absolute favorite yarn to make things like garments with because it has a little bit of a touch of merino in it, which makes it super duper soft and kind of bouncy. And it's really also, and it also has some acrylic in it, which makes it nice and sturdy. And I believe this one is, yeah, this one is machine washable and dryable. So that's going to make it great for anytime you want to make a garment. You're not going to have to worry about hand washing it. Okay, so this is my absolute favorite yarn. This one has 410 yards in this one skein. So you can get a lot out of this skein. So yeah, Loops and Threads, Luxe Merino. Check it out if you guys haven't already checked it out. I just grabbed a bunch of colors that I had in this yarn to show you how to do these little flowers. But you can, of course, use any scrap yarn that you have. And you can use any, like maybe a knitted piece that you already have knitted, like a sweater. You could also do it on a hat. You could also do it on like maybe if you made a pillow cover, you could do it on that and make a really pretty embroidered pillow. So just about anything you could probably even do this on like a store-bought knit sweater, right? No reason why you couldn't do that too. So yeah, these are the colors I got. Black. I have, this one is Rhubarb. This one is, I want to tell you all these colors so you guys can get it because there's no like pattern with this. It's just kind of a sample. Bridal Rose. And this one is Avocado. Okay, so those are the colors I'm using. But again, you can kind of use what you have. I just put these into little pieces because we only need a tiny bit of this, right? And this is my just swatch that I knitted in stockinette stitch to show you how to do this. Okay, so oh yeah, and I did want to tell you guys, I'm going to keep I have my chat open on my iPad here. So if you have any questions or you need me to show you something again, just pop that in the chat and I'll keep an eye on that, okay? So I just need this needle, tapestry needle, yarn needle, some scissors, and that's it. So that's all we need for this. Okay, so let's start with just showing you how to do a back stitch just to kind of get used to doing the embroidery. And a back stitch, I'm going to get some of this pink and put a little bit, you don't even need too long of a piece. Just going to put a little bit on the needle here. Okay. Oh, and I did want to mention, if you're doing this on one of your knits, just try to choose a yarn. This is I think this is a 3 lightweight yarn. But just try to use something that's kind of similar to the knit itself. So I use the same exact yarn for the knit piece that I'm going to use for the embroidery. If you use a yarn that's really thin, like if you try to use the floss or just like thread or something, it'll probably just kind of go through the stitches and it won't come out the other end. You can use something thicker, but just keep in mind that it'll maybe pull the stitches apart a little bit. So I try to use something that's a pretty similar weight to the knitted piece. Michael's has that yarn. Oh, really? Okay. Well, that's a great buy if Michael's has it right now for buy one, get one. If you feel this yarn, it is so soft. It is really great for just like garments. Okay. You can do a blanket with it. It's going to take you a long time to knit a blanket, or crochet blankets are quicker, but it's great for crochet and knitted garments and hats and anything that you're going to wear on your skin, because it's super soft and sturdy and washable. Okay, so if it's BOGO right now, 410 yards, a ball, can't beat that. Okay, so let's just start here, my little blank area. I'm going to start up at the top here. I'm going to bring my needle in that's threaded with my piece of yarn. You don't have to knot it or anything. Just pop it on there. And I'm going to come in from the back to the front, right? So from the back of my work, I'm going to come in to the front. And then I try to go, you can see how let me show. See how you've got these stitches, the knitted stitches, there's a V. You can see that they're all little V's stacked on top of each other and next to each other. If you knit, you know. I kind of just try to go around the V, or you can go in between the V. But if I go around a V, it helps me, then I can count and then I can keep my stitches even. So let's go to like the side of this V and pull my yarn to the front. And then I can say, okay, I'm going to go 1, 2, let's go 2 over. So I'm going to count 1V, 2V, and then go back from the front to the back this way. And then I'm going to count 2 more. So 1, 2. Now I'm in the back, right? I'm in the back of my work. I'm going to come back in through the back, 2 more rows over to the front, and then go back in where I went in the last stitch, right? There. So now it's kind of a line, right? And then you can just do that. We'll do a few more of those. Just try to keep it even. So I'm going to come in from the back and then back in where I came out of. And then count 2 rows over, try to keep it lined up. I'm going to come in from the back and go back in through the front. And then let's start another line below here. So I can come in from the back. And then into the front. So this is just like the very basic. Now I'm going to go this way, right? Because I want to end here. So I'm going to come in from the back and then go back in that same space where I went in last time. So now I'm kind of going in the opposite direction, sort of, but I'm just making like a straight line. And this is kind of just to show you can make any designs that you want. Let me see if I can zoom in a little bit so you guys can see better here. No, I can't zoom in once it's live. but I might be able to move this down a bit. Trying to get a little closer because I know these stitches are small. Here we go. Okay, so that just shows you can do this like a straight line. You can, let's see if I have enough yarn left. Let me get another strand here. If you want to do this back stitch in like a zigzag or a cross stitch, it's kind of the same principle. All right, so coming in through from the back. And then leave that tail in the back so you don't go all the way through, and just leave a little tail back there. And then let's say, okay, I want to do like a little bit of a diagonal. I would do the same thing. I would try to count those rows, and that'll help me keep it even. And then I'll just go diagonally this way. And now you have to kind of gauge. So if I want to make another diagonal this way, right, to make like a little arrow shape almost, I would say I want to be right around here, right? But I have to come in from the back. Right there. And then go back where I came in here. And then I have just like kind of a little arrow V shape, sideways V shape, right? Same thing if you want to do like a cross stitch. So we're going to come in from here, maybe count 2 rows, go up this way. Okay, so now I have 1 diagonal. And then I want to make another diagonal cross over like that. So I need to come out right here, right? So keep these, it's very easy with knitted stitches to keep your strands lined up, because you can just kind of count in between the V's and the rows and then have it lined up perfectly. It's a little bit trickier with crochet pieces, just because the stitches don't always align as nicely as they do in knit. Okay, so I'm going to come out this way, and then I'm going to go right here to kind of line this up with this one and this one right there. Cross that right over, and then I made like a little cross stitch. And these are just to make kind of different. You can just get creative and decorate it however you want. So if you have your sweater, you can make like a bunch of little X's across the neck section, or like on the cuff of the sleeve, or even on socks. If you have some knitted socks, you can just do like a few little cute little embroidery creative things with it. So just get creative. Let's do this lazy daisy stitch. This is probably the hardest one, but it's actually super duper easy. If you can do these stitches, you can do these flower stitches. So I'll make a flower, and then we'll make kind of the stem of it, and the leaves are the same as the petals of the flower. So everybody with me? Yes, yes. Not too many questions as I can see, but I told you this is not hard at all. This is easy. It's not like teaching a knitting, like how to knit or how to crochet, because that requires a lot more practice. Not so much skill. The skill comes with the practice, but this is just gonna come quick to you because it's much simpler. Okay, so I'm gonna put some yarn. Hopefully this will be enough. We'll see, right? And it's super easy to pull it out and start over if you mess it up. So let's start our flower like right about here. I'm going to come in. This is going to be the center of the flower. So gauge where you want the center of the flower. That's where you're going to start, at the center of the flower. So I'm going to come in through the center. Okay, now here I want to make like sort of a loop to make this petal. So I'm just gonna decide how big I want that loop to be and give it a little extra slack. And then I'm just gonna make a loop like that, right? And then I'll hold on to that loop with my thumb. And then go back in from where you came from the back to the front. And then we're gonna go from the front to the back. So the front to the back. You can go all the way. Wait, did I? Let me give this a little bit more slack. Okay. So make a loop and then go back in there from the front to the back. And then I'm going to come up here. So I want to catch that loop, right? So I'm going to come back in from the back to the front and then go back in to sort of make to catch that loop. Okay, so see that one's kind of small, so I want to make the other ones similar. So now I'm going to come in from the bottom or the center. We're going to make just a three petal flower for this one. Did you knot on the back? I didn't knot it on the back. No, I didn't. But I probably should have given it more slack because now I only have this much to work with. So with this one, I'm just going to make 3 little petals because look, I only have this much to work with. So I'm going to make like a 3 petal flower. And I don't ever knot it on the back. Yeah. What I do is once I'm finished, then I'll kind of fasten off the back and tie it off as best I can. And how you treat the back is going to be dependent on what it is. So if it's a sweater, so like, let me show you something. See how this part had like a bunch, has like yarn going on in all different directions, right? Because I was like, I made a stem here and then I just used that same strand and I went over here and made the stem. So if this was my sweater, I wouldn't do that. I would cut it off with each sort of smaller section that I made because I don't want all these strands like getting caught on my clothes and stuff like that. And I would do it more like this, where I just would cut it off and tie it off like in smaller sections. Okay. But if I was using this as like the inside of a pillow, like a pillow cover, then it wouldn't matter if you have a million strands in the back because they're not going to catch on anything. It's just going to be the pillow in there and you're not going to see it on the front, right? So it's just dependent on what you're using it for. If you're using it for a sweater, try to keep as few strands in the back as possible. And I'll show you what I mean by that. So let's do just like 2 more petals on this one and then we'll do another flower. So I'm going to do the same thing. I give it just like a little loop. And then I'm going to go back in where all those petals are coming out of. You kind of have to hold it with your thumb so it doesn't get like distorted, okay? So I'm going to go back in and then I'm just going to come right up from the back. See how my needle's coming right up from the back? And then I can catch the top of that petal at the same, sort of the same motion. So I'm coming from that center back to where the top of that loop is. And then give it a little tug so it's like taut. And then I can go back in through the back to catch the top of that loop. And once you catch the top of that loop, that petal's not going anywhere. So now let's make another one right here. The 3 petal ones look really, really pretty too. So I'm going to come back in center. They all start at the center. Okay. Make a loop. and then go back in from the center and then come up here at the top of the loop so you can catch the loop. So come in, so right under that loop. See where my needle is? Because I want to catch the top of that loop. And at the same time, this strand is going into the center to make the bottom of the petal like, so it's not like looped at the bottom, it's only looped at the top, if that makes sense. So I'm coming in there, that pulled that bottom through, and then go back to the back, and that keeps that top of the petal in place. So that's just like a 3-petal, and then you could put a little stem on it. You can do as few or as many petals as you want. So see how it looks on camera. It looks better not on camera, or maybe it's just my iPad. Okay, so now here's the back. Here's what I have. This is the strand I started, and this is where I ended. And if I had more slack, I would do more petals, but I didn't give myself enough slack. So we're going to give ourselves enough slack on the next one. So now I can cut this off here, leave some enough room to make a knot, and just gently tie it. Like, don't pull it, obviously, because it's gonna pull everything and scrunch it up and distort it. Okay, so then you can just make a little knot. So normally with like knit and crochet or something, we would take these tails and weave them into the knitted fabric. But if I did that, it's going to show in the front, and I don't want to do that. So I'm going to make a couple knots just so it doesn't go anywhere. And if you want to make sure it doesn't go anywhere, especially with yarn that has some wool in it, you can catch it through the other pieces of yarn. So let's put this tail on here. I can try to show you what I mean. So what I would do is I would try to put it through that strand. Can you guys see that? And without pulling the front of the petal, just pull it through a couple pieces of the strand. And you have to do this delicately because it could pull the front. Okay. So now I have that. That's probably not going anywhere. So then I can just cut those ends off. And now on the back, like if it was for a sweater, you have a nice, it's not like strands everywhere like I do on this part, right? So you have just a small part on the back. And then it looks like that on the front. Now, remember we were talking about how this yarn is washable and dryable. If you're doing something like this on the back, this is very easily can get caught on something and can pull and can just come undone or can get all distorted. So if you do have a lot of this like embroidery on your sweater, I wouldn't throw it in the machine, just because see, this is like loose strands and stuff. You don't want to, I could just see that getting caught on other pieces of clothing. And maybe ruining your work. So I would probably, if it was me, I probably wouldn't put it in the washer and dryer once I did some embroidery on it. But if it's just a regular knit sweater, you can totally wash and dry this yarn. Okay, so that one looks pretty cute with the 3 petals. Let's do one with 5 petals. Can we put in, oh yeah, so if you know how to do interfacing, somebody asked if Jennifer says, let me read Jennifer's message since we are chit-chatting here. Lara said, do not on the back. How do you secure it? Okay, we went over that. And then Jennifer said, Liz, maybe we could do someone's initials like Laverne and Shirley. That's right. I remember that show. Laverne always had the little cursive L on her sweater. Yes, that would be super cute. So if you do that, post it on social media because I don't know how to do that. Pretty color. Could you? Okay. And then Jennifer said, can you put interfacing on the back? Yeah, that would be really good if you I don't know too much about interfacing, but I would put that on the back, maybe, I don't know what I'm trying to think if that's something you could put on garments. I don't know what they make. I would have to check and see what they make as far as interfacing goes. But yeah, you could do something like that. You just have to consider what piece you are using that for. Like if it's a hat or if it's a sweater, how it's going to feel on your skin. Just over the embroidery. Oh yeah, I don't know, Jennifer. I would have to look into that because I don't really know too much about that product. But I would say that that's definitely something I would give it a shot and try. A lot of this is experimenting, right? And just kind of having fun with these things. So yeah, for sure. And it's always good to make a little swatch like this before you make a huge piece, obviously. Make a little swatch, practice your embroidery, maybe put some interfacing on that swatch, see how it works out. And if you like how that works, then you can, translate that to a larger piece. But always, whenever you're doing some kind of this handmade knits or handmade crochet things or embroidery this, it's always good to practice on just a small swatch so you can get your colors right, so you can get your techniques right, and see that all your plans are going to work out in advance before you do it on a big piece, because you don't want to go through making a whole sweater and then you don't like the finished product, right? Okay, let's try to let's use the pink. I think the pink is probably going to show up a little better on camera for you guys. Let's make a 5-petal flower. Okay. So just put where I'll start down here, this little space here. Okay. Now this time I'm going to give myself more slack. This will be the center of my flower. I'm going to come in from the back here and make that loop. This is really pretty simple once you get used to it. Make that loop. I think you can see the pink better, the bridal rose it's called. I think you can see that better on camera. And then I'm going to go back in from the front to the back where I came out. And then I can just insert my needle back to where I want to catch that top of that petal loop right there. See, you can see that needle coming out. So I'm going kind of from the front to the back, but I'm doing it in like one motion. So up the top there, pull that through. Sorry, I keep hitting my phone on the way up. And then back in through the back to catch the top of that petal. And this takes practice to get it straight and even too, because mine come out lopsided sometimes. Okay, so now that my petal loop is about this size, I want to try to keep the other ones the same size. So I'm going to come in back where we started, back in that center. Make the loop. Trying to get it the right size. Go back in the center. And then bring my needle up the top just under that loop so I can catch it. There we go. And then back down to the back to catch the top of the loop. We can see weaving it in just, okay. Just checking my comments here, guys. Okay, there's two. I'm gonna rotate this a little bit because I think that'll make it easier for me to make another one right about here. And this is handmade stuff, right? It doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to look perfect. It can look a little handmade. Okay, and then make my little loop. Go into the center and back up just underneath the loop so we can catch it.
Jenny asks, the petals are fairly loose, correct?
They are, yes. Yep, they're going to be pretty loose. That's why I said you got to watch if you want to like wash it or something like that. It's going to catch on things, so you got to be careful with that. I think this would make a great pillow too. And if you want to make the petals smaller, they're not going to be as loose because you're not going to have all, this much of a strand, right? If you make them a bit smaller. And sometimes if I don't pay attention to what's happening on the back, I'll get it caught on these other strands that I have just kind of laying around. So it's a good idea to clean up the back before you start on another part, right? So if I did one flower, then you should clean up the back like we did with this one before you start on another one because it could get caught on all those strands, right? So there's the third. Let's try to do the last two as evenly placed as I can. So coming in through the back. And it's probably would be easier for me if I had this like nice and flat, but I'm trying to get close to the camera for you guys. So I'm in a bit of an awkward position, but of course you want to be in as comfortable a position as you can. So let's see. I want this one to be right about here. Okay, so make that loop. Come back in from the center and then right underneath the top of the loop to catch the loop. And back down to the back. Same thing. So if you're going to be embroidering on a sweater, you're going to have to keep in mind too. So like if you make a sweater in pieces, so like a front piece or a back piece, like a front piece and a back piece, and then you're going to seam the pieces together. What I would do is embroider the front piece before you seam it together, so that way you're working on a flat piece, right? And it'll be easier for you to go from back to front like that. So do the embroidery, then do the seaming. That will make it much easier on you. If you're doing a sweater that's like worked in the round, so it's all worked in one piece from the neck down, you're going to have to just maneuver around because you're working from the inside of the sweater and you're going to have that back already kind of knitted onto it, right? So you're going to have to be working on the inside of a sweater. Just imagine you're going to have to put your hand through. So it's going to be a little bit more of a maneuvering situation. So again, start with a swatch, get used to doing it, and then work on your sweater. But if you're doing a sweater that's made in pieces, just do the embroidery before you seam the pieces together. Okay, so last petal here, and I have just enough space right here to make my last petal. And these can be 6 petals, 5 petals, however many you want. You can add, like if you make a larger petal and then you can add a smaller one in the center. It'll have a lot of strands here, but you can do that and like do another color and maybe make smaller petals in the center to have some extra color. That would look cute too. Get rid of this. Okay. And then do my last loop here. Make sure I have that placed nicely. Okay, so come from the center to to the back, and then to the front, just under the loop. Pull that through. And back to the back. So it's definitely not a perfect flower. Again, that's just going to come with practice. Okay, so now here's the back, right? So what I would want to do is clean up these strands so I don't risk them getting in my way when I do the stem. And I don't love a bunch of knots, so I try to just weave through these strands if I can. And you just kind of like split the yarn a little bit and put your needle through there. And that'll just keep it in place. So split this one, split through this one. I can't go through the fabric because that's going to show on the other side. And see, I'm just splitting the yarn. And then let's come back down to the center. I'll come back down to the center, and then I'll just make a knot in the center. Check the front, there we go. And then I'll just do a gentle knot with these two remaining strands here. And that shouldn't go anywhere. It's delicate, so you'll have to be careful with it. There we go. Okay, so now I have my petal. Yeah, so Jennifer said, oh, I like the idea to make pillow covers, maybe another use for old sweaters. Oh yeah, that's a good idea. Turn them into pillow covers. That would be super cute. My bang. Or do another color and make French knots at the center of the flowers. And the French knots would be so cute around, just kind of like dispersed around. I think that would be really pretty too. And I absolutely love French knots, but I find them very difficult. So I didn't want to put them in this class because I want you guys to learn French knots from somebody who's better at it than me. And I'm just not good at them. I have to take a sip. I'm just not great at French knots, you guys. I mean, I can admit it. I'm bad at French knots, but they are a really beautiful and kind of staple embroidery thing. So you should learn how to make them because you're probably better than me. All right, so let's do the stem. Fireflies, yep, I've seen fireflies with these lazy daisy stitches. So like imagine you just do like the body of the firefly and then just do like these four big lazy daisy stitches. And then maybe, I don't know, 2 eyes or something. Super cute. Okay, so I'm gonna just do some green. This stem is like so easy. I made a very easy stem for you guys. It's gonna have to come like, So what I should have done is made like more space for the stem to come right down the center, because if I do it right here, it's going to be lopsided a little bit. So let's pretend I planned better and made a better space. Let's say this space looks better for the stem. So let's just do the stem. Well, no, I can't do that because I want to do the stem right here. It looks okay. Well, let's just try it so they're all even. We'll do the stem right here. What I want to find is like a row of, not a row, but a column of V stitches, because that's what I want to use to kind of gauge what I'm working around. But this looks okay right here. That'll be a nice even stem. So my stem is going to come down right here. So I want to start, I'd say about here, right? So let's come in from the back. Right about there. Okay, and I'm going to give myself some slack because I'm going to use this one strand to go all the way up. And this is really easy. So here's my column, right? You can see that column of V-stitches. What I did was I just came back up around. So I kind of want to work around this column. That's what I'm trying to do here. And I did it on a little bit of a diagonal, which it doesn't have to be on a diagonal. It can be straight too. So come in through the back and then come back in. Make sure you can see this. Come back in like one step up. And this is just, picture you're just wrapping this yarn around a column of stitches. And then kind of make a little bit of a diagonal, go back towards the back. And then one step up right about here. Oops. And I'm trying to work around these V's of this column. And then diagonal back down to the front. From the back to the front.
In the chat, they're saying maybe use beads to embellish
I
or
know, what is
even
that?
try fake pearls. So beautiful.
See, sometimes all you need is a little bit of inspiration, and you just kind of, that's the thing about doing handmade things, knit and crochet, anything with yarn. I don't really do too many other, well, besides my nails, I do my nails. So that's my other kind of crafty thing that I do. But mostly I just do knit and crochet stuff. But it's like once you get some kind of skills with, and that's just with practice, then you can kind of just get creative with it, right? And think of all the different fun things that you can do. You don't have to follow a pattern exactly. You don't have to follow a class exactly. You just kind of learn a few skills. It's like cooking. You learn how to do a few things and then you just kind of get creative and make up your own stuff. That's the fun part about um, handmade things, crafting things, right? Being creative. It's all about getting that inspiration and getting those skills and then just letting your creativity go, right? And also this is fun because I like kind of talking to you guys and having these ideas flowing and just kind of having somebody to talk to other than my husband and kids who could care less about yarn, right? I'm sure you guys know the feeling. I have boys, so they don't care about any of this stuff. Yeah, so it's nice to have, even though we're just kind of chatting, but it's nice to be able to have these classes where I can talk to like-minded creative people, right? That's why we do these fun live classes. See what's happening here? I got too many strands all over the place and I'm getting all, everything is getting, this is what I warned you guys. I did exactly what I said don't do. And now I have to backtrack a bit because I'm all tangled up. Okay, there we go. Get that tail out. Okay. So let's pretend I didn't get it tangled up. But anyway, you get the idea. The stem is like super simple, right? I just did. And if you don't want to make any space through them, you can stack them closer together. So that way it's a solid, it's like more solid looking. See how these I made kind of when I did the diagonals, I made like a little bit of a space in between. But if I stack them closer together, you wouldn't see that white space. And instead of doing it diagonally, you can do it straight horizontally. But that's basically it. You're just going in and out, in and out. It's kind of like a back stitch stacked on top of each other, right? Like a satin stitch. Ooh, yes. fake pearls, satin stitches. We're here to learn and inspire. That's right, you guys. Okay, so now what I did after the stem was, I believe I used the same strand. So use the same strand if you can, if you don't get all tangled up. And then I just did the leaves the same exact way I did those 2 petals. So just do the loop and then catch the loop on the top. That's all I did for the leaves on these 2. And then these 2, I left them with no leaves, which looks fine too. And then I just made these little V's with the black color. And that was just to add some, I don't know, just kind of a little more something on there. But this, like, I think it was Jennifer said, or somebody said, this would look really good with French knots. So this is my substitution for French knots because I can't do them. But the French knots would look really pretty there. They look like little hearts. Yeah, they do look like little hearts. And these are also, here, I'll show you how to do one of those, but I think you guys get the idea, but we'll do one of those really quick. There's a name for those stitches. Oh, I can't remember what it's called. But there is somebody know who knows what those little stitch, here, I'll do it and then somebody might know what it's called. It's a thing that knitters do where if you want to do color work, like if you're doing some kind of color work knitting piece and you have like some stitches are some colors and some stitches are other colors and you're making like a motif of some kind, and but you don't want to work with like too many colors. Sometimes knitters will put one of these like right on top of a stitch, and there's a name for it and I can't think of what it is, right on top of a stitch, just to add those colors where you're working with like 3 colors and you need a 4th, but you don't want to have to deal with all that. So they just put one of these stitches on top to make that 4th color. I hope I'm probably not explaining that very well, but yeah, you can use this in knit color work because it kind of just is like takes the shape of an actual knit stitch. So all you have to do is come in. So here's a V. So you kind of want to just like mimic the V, like put it right on top of that V. Oh man, I wish I could remember the name of what this is called. So I'm going to come in here to the bottom of that
Jenny
V.
said it, inertia.
No, it's what is this called? No. Okay, so I'm gonna come in from the bottom, right? And then want to go right here. I want it like it's like mimicking that stitch. And then come in here. But it also looks like a little heart.
Jennifer said fly stitch.
No.
No. We're trying, guys.
Jennifer's trying. She's a trooper. And then I'm gonna come back in from the bottom, right where I came in. And then just make another one this way. And I'm still trying to think of it and I can't. Right? So there you go. It almost looks like a little seagull too. But yeah, a little heart, a little seagull, a little V. Um, it's basically just mimicking the knit stitch. And I can't remember what it's called, but that's it. Super simple. Star. You want to see how I make a star? This is how I make a star. which I did this on, I made some little crochet things and I wanted to do like a little, it was like a Christmas themed thing. And I wanted to do a little star. So I did like a very simple back stitch. So let's go 1, 2, 3, 4, like 5 that way. And then I did like a few, just like a few crossovers, right? Let's see if I can make this look decent. So now I'm going to come in from the back here. And I want to cross over. And this is, a lot of this is just about knowing where to go with these. Okay, and then from the front to the back. And now I want to do another one this way and this way, right? So coming in from the back, maybe, I guess right about here. And then diagonal. And then another one the opposite direction, right? So line that up right about there. And there. So that kind of just looked like a star or kind of a snowflake or something. It's hard to see with the black, but now if this was better, this would have gone up higher. So I would have started higher up here now, but if you want to say, well, I should have started up higher here, well, that's okay, because we can just add another little sort of back stitch and you'll never know that I did it, that I didn't do it high enough. Yeah, not too bad. What I should see, I should have had this initial strand should have just been a little bit longer, but I didn't make it long enough. So I just kind of fudged it and added another piece. It's not perfect, but still looks like a pretty star, right? So yeah, there's all kinds of things you can do with this. It's not hard. It's very simple. And lots of different options to get creative with this. Who has any questions? This was a fun class for me because you guys were fun and it wasn't like, sometimes it's hard to teach things, I don't know, that are take a lot more practice. I don't think this takes as much practice. So it was kind of a like, yes, very doable, Jenny said. So it's kind of like a lazy stitch, lazy day class. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. I'll probably be back in a month and I'm going to do a crochet corner to corner class. So look out for that one. That will be in March. So if you guys want to join me again, come back and see me in March for corner to corner crochet. And also don't forget to check out the YouTube page because all my past classes are on there. And then this class is also going to be on there next week. And I thank everyone very much for spending your Saturday afternoon with me. And I hope you have a great rest of your weekend. Bye, guys. Thanks for coming.